Okay, everyone, and welcome back again to CES Day 3 commentary. Third in the line of 5 of these that I'm going to do. Since you already know what they are, if you're already on the third one, let's go ahead and get this started. I'm going to go ahead and push play here. Alright, so again, it's me doing my opening monologue. Nothing much to see here. Probably skip over most of this in edit. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is these four lovely ladies here. These were the floor mascot booth babes for Rue cases. And as we were walking by, I only saw the two shorter ones, and I made the comment of, oh, look, we have Ewoks. And the one girl immediately turned around and she goes, I'm not an Ewok, I'm a kangaroo, or something to that extent. So I was like, oh, sorry, Ewok. We were just kind of giving them crap. And they kind of chuckled about it, and we were going to move on. And then the lady in charge of the booth was like, would you like to do an interview with the girls or anything? Because they saw we had camera equipment. We're like, well, maybe we'll get some footage of them for our B-roll or something. And then she's like, well, would you like him to say something for you? Would you like him to say the name of your website or whatever? And we were like, no, we can just film them doing whatever they're normally doing. And then she's like, well, would you like them to say welcome to the South Hall or something? So we're like, yeah, fine, they can do that. So we got them to say welcome to the South Hall, which is what I opened the video with before I went into the music. So they're all fun. For the short time we were there, the lady kept trying to get us to do more and more interviews and video stuff with them, but we were just like, we kind of humored them a little bit, but we were ready to move on after they said that bit. But anyway, thanks to you four lovely ladies if you happen to be watching this. And that's Rue Cases, so let's move on. There you see their sign. Again, this is just another car showing off some audio or something, I don't remember. It looked pretty cool, so I filmed it. Okay, this is NVIDIA's new video card line, again, targeting more towards gaming. Here they have 3 split displays to form one image. Apparently this is able to be done through the new video card that they're putting out. It has a higher output rate, so it actually does the 4K. So it actually can do a 4K display now. Higher image resolution, all that stuff. So yeah, that's that. As you can see here, I start to zoom in on the case before deciding to get a better angle so I can actually see inside of it, which is what you'll see here in a second, right here. The guy was actually telling some of the other stuff that was in the tower, but I cut that out, so there's their sign. Okay, now this is the piston. This is probably one of the coolest things I saw the whole time, and I actually got to play with this a little bit. We got some good footage of it, a good interview with it. You can check that out at ktdata.net whenever he gets around to putting his videos up. And what this is that little box is actually a gaming computer. This was originally developed in conjunction with Valve as a standalone Steam player, so you could plug this into whatever TV or device and what have you, and just access your Steam account and play all your Steam games without having to have an computer, internet connection, what have you. Actually, I think it does still need an internet connection. I could be wrong on that. But basically, this was to hook it up to your TV instead of just having to play on your computer monitor. You could sit back and watch it on your big 56-inch 4K television, whatever. Unfortunately, something happened to where the tie-in to Valve kind of fell apart. But they still developed it. They still use the name Piston, which Piston, Valve, Steam. Yeah, you get it? So they still use the name. It still has a Steam function, but it's not the exclusive Steam player that that Valve eventually was going to put out. But it does still access Steam, but they've actually remodeled it to where it accesses a lot of other stuff. You can access the internet, movies, basically everything. And it's all in this one small little package. It was literally like about this big. You could hold it between your two hands. And yeah, so they had a raffle to where you could win one. I entered, but I didn't win this year, unfortunately. However, I did get this cool gaming mouse pad that I'm using on my desk right now. So that was kind of cool. And now I'm going to show you some footage of the piston here. And again, here's some different cases that you can get for it. You can get just different colors, game skins on them. Here it has its own Oculus-style device. It's showing you both of the displays so you can kind of see how it works. I did put this on and play with it for a minute. It looked kind of cool. Before we get into this, I want to talk a little bit more about the Oculus-style thing. A lot of the ones we saw were limited on their depth of vision. Like if you actually looked away from the screen, because it's designed to where you turn your head, the image will move and like show you things around your sides instead of just what's in front of you. But if you look out of the corner of your eye, you could still see the edge of the screen. That was the downfall with a lot of them, is you're still looking at a square screen. With the one with the piston, I'm not sure what the difference was in theirs, but they actually may have just had a little bit more curved screen, or the screen went further off to the sides. But if you look out of the corner of your eye, you could still see the things that were off to the side before you would turn your head. So I did like that a little bit more than some of the other ones I looked at on the floor that day. Now this is a device called a Beam, which if it'll play, for some reason my mouse likes to double click everything when I click it once. But as you can see, it has a monitor built in, and it's remote controlled to where you can move around. And basically this lady was somewhere in California talking to us at CES. If you're a fan of the Big Bang Theory, you may have seen the one where Sheldon was sick or didn't want to leave the house or something, so he had a similar device where he had his iPad mounted to a pole on top of a little remote control unit. That's essentially what this is, except instead of putting an expensive iPad on top of this little pole, this is actually a monitor built in to a sturdy structure. It has two different cameras, one that kind of looks around the base of the item so you can see where you're rolling and if you're going to bump into something. And then it has an eye level one where you can be looking at and talking to people that are directly in front of you. They had these running around their booth talking to people. And they actually had one computer system set up in the middle of their booth where you could actually drive one of these around their office in California. You had someone there standing next to it, and as soon as someone walked up to it, she'd say hi and start talking to you. And then she would tell you how to control it, and she would take you on a tour around their office. And it was kind of cool. I didn't get much footage of that. I basically just got the short footage of the girl that came over and talked to us, because we were actually at the booth next door, and she logged onto her unit, turned and saw us, and drove up to us and started talking. So that's why we went over and started looking at their booth. Otherwise, we probably would have walked right by it and not even noticed it. But it's actually a pretty cool device. It's called Beam, as you can see there. Okay, this is Synology. They have private cloud storage. Basically, it's a device that you set up your own mini server, like 4, 5, 6 hard drives. Basically back up all your information to it, and it's directly accessible through the internet, but it can have a private password to where only you or people that you give your password to can access it. So all your information is still out in the cloud, but it's secured so not everyone can access it, which is one of my big things about cloud is the idea of the cloud. Although it's nice to have all your information available regardless of where you're at, you don't need to be able to access your computer to get to it. One thing that's always bothered me about that is everyone has this whole issue with Big Brother's watching you and the government having access to all your data and how that shouldn't be. But then you go and dump all your personal information out in the atmosphere like that. And I never understood how people can be so conspiracy theory based, but then turn around and do the exact thing that they're against by dumping it into a cloud. So this is basically dumping it into a cloud, but still keeping it relatively secure. So that was kind of cool. This is another thing that they have where these are basically destruction-proof casing. This was actually put through a fire. You have the one before and the after model. And basically all the information on the hard drives was salvageable. They took them out of this unit, plugged them into another one, and everything still worked. There were no corrupted files or anything. So it's actually pretty cool to have all your stuff be safe like that. This is Protect Cell. They basically have protection plans for your cell phones. So if they're ever lost or damaged or anything, you can get it replaced fairly easily. And just to prove it, they were blending a cell phone here. Now these were, I forget what company this was, but these were some gold-plated earbuds. And as you can see there, the price tag for these gold-plated earbuds is $14,500. So those are probably the most expensive earbuds I'd ever seen in my life. Okay, now this item was actually pretty cool. I wasn't sure what it was when I walked up to it, but once I found out what it was, I actually found it to be very interesting. This is basically a giant battery. It's a power cell. Basically, like if you go camping or anything, or you're going to be secluded in a wooded area or whatever, you usually take a generator, which is going to run on gasoline, but that's how you power, all the things that you need electricity for. Well, this eliminates the need for a generator, the need for gasoline. It's a giant battery. You charge it up, you take it out with you. It is stackable. You can stack up to 5 of these units together to produce a larger charge and run different things. I believe he said it had... We asked him what the runtime was for it, and he told me, but I cannot remember. I think he said it goes a couple days before needing an actual recharge. And if you can stack 5 of these together, it's probably going to go even longer. Here you just got, again, some different skins for TVs. These are more targeted for children. There you see Barbie, and this one's Cars. Okay, this was actually an innovative smart sprinkler system. Basically, instead of how a lot of states have water regulations on, it's dry out right now, there's not much rain, so you don't water your lawn today, but then you have these preset sprinkler systems that you got to remember to turn off, otherwise your lawn's going to water itself anyway. What this one does is it's actually a smart device that's tied into your sprinkler system that actually gets live updates from the weather service. So if it's going to be rain that day, it won't water your lawn because your lawn's going to get watered from the rain. If it's going to be excessively hot and they know there's going to be a drought and there might be a water restriction, all that information is relayed, so your watering system will adjust based on the information that it receives from the weather service, which is done over a Wi-Fi signal. However, if the Wi-Fi signal is ever lost, it'll default back to whatever your normal watering program is. So it does have a backup if it stops receiving a signal. It'll just go back to whatever you have a default set at, like 2 o'clock every day or whatever, or every other day, until it gets its signal back. Then it'll go back to watering based on the weathering service, which is actually a really smart idea. It'll actually save a lot of water on, when different states have these water restrictions. So we almost missed this one. KT stopped to use the bathroom, and then they were going to go meet up with his other friend to do another interview. And we had like 2 sections of this one hallway left, and I thought we were going to bypass them like we did last year. So I was like, well, you're using the bathroom, I'm going to do a quick run through here and see if there's anything interesting. So then he caught back up with me as I was walking through the hall. He goes, did you find anything interesting? And I found 2 things that I wanted to look at. One, I'll show you here after this, I believe. And then this, I was like, I'm not sure what this is, but it's pretty and has lights on it. And he stopped and talked to the guy. I found out they were from Utah, which is where he's from. And, of course, he's always going to support a hometown person. So he stopped in and talked to him about what it was, and it actually turned out to be this really cool thing. So we stopped and did an interview with him. Again, that'll be up on ktdata.net whenever he gets it up. At some point, I'll probably have to come back and put annotations in these to link you to those. Okay, now this I only filmed basically for B-roll. Apparently, Linksys has been bought out by Belkin, and they're reintroducing their Linksys line of routers. The only reason I stopped to film this one is because it was a giant router, and it reminded me of the South Park episode where the internet stopped working, and when they went to see where the internet was and what it was a giant Linksys router. As we were walking through the floor, we saw this giant Linksys router, and we're like, hey, look, we found the internet. So we decided to film it for B-roll, and that was basically the whole point of this. This is a pretty interesting display, though, how they got it to where it works as a screen as well. Okay, now, as I said, as I power ran through the hallway while KT was using the restroom, I found 2 things. One was a sprinkler system. The other was this. So this is, I believe they were called Anapals. You'll see it at the end. Basically what it is these different animals that move and sing and dance to music. What caught my attention on this one was they had this Barack Obama one. We did ask them if Barack Obama was going to be available for sale. They said no, it was just a one-off production just for CES. So it's not going to be available for sale, but it does dance. It doesn't sing. The mouth didn't move, but it does dance, as you can see here. It would have been kind of cool had they produced a presidential line, but they said they don't have any plans for that. It's basically just the frog, the dog, and the monkey right now. And these are available in the market now. Oh, they're plush pals. Sorry, plush pals. Okay, now another thing that we saw a lot of, or a little bit of last year that we saw a lot of this year was 3D printers. Last year at CES, the two halls, or the two sections of the hall that we skipped over that I said I power ran through this time, at last year was where the 3D printers was. It was two small sections of the hallway, 2 rows up and down. There was 3D printers. Now they have an entire quadrant of this hall blocked off just for 3D printers. So if you have the entire hall as this one big square and you quartered it off into 4 smaller squares, one whole square is 3D printers now, where before it was just this 2 little strips of one. Now, the thing about what we're seeing here is this is a company called White Clouds. If you're familiar with KT Data and the KitCast, you'll know his new co-host is Drew Tyler. Is it Tyler? Taylor? One of the two. I think it's Drew Tyler. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, sorry, Drew. KT only says it every week, but I rarely pay attention. But Drew works for this company, and they're a 3D printing company, but they don't sell 3D printers. You contact them with what you want printed, and they'll print it for you based on, if they'll give you an estimate of what it would cost. You approve it or disapprove it, and if you approve it, then they print it out for you and send it to you. Now, what you're seeing here is some of the stuff they've 3D printed. And as we get down to some of the other stuff here, as we get into the stuff with a little bit more color into it other than white, the interesting thing about this is a lot of the 3D printing places will print something out in one color and then they'll airbrush it or use other methods of painting it. Everything that you see here with color, for example, these action figures, are all printed full color. So all the red, all the yellow, everything in that Not Thor action figure was all printed in color as it was printed. Okay, this item is the 3 Doodler. It's basically a pen. It works kind of like a hot glue gun, but instead of just basic white glue, it squirts out a colored glue, and it heats as it feeds, but then it cools as it finishes on the other end, so you're basically melting colored glue or wax or whatever, and you can move the pen up as you're doing it, and it'll create a 3D image. So basically it's a 3D printer that you can hold in your hand, and you can doodle stuff in 3D, and some of the stuff you saw there, like Big Ben and whatnot, was all done with this device. Okay, now as I was saying, where White Clouds was printed in full color, for example, this Predator statue here was printed in a single color and then airbrushed to get the metallics and different colors of the skulls and whatnot that you see here. Whereas White Clouds, that would have all been done in the printing process and wouldn't have needed to be painted. The only thing I can see is that based on what White Clouds had displayed on theirs, their colors are a little bit more flat colored and kind of muted a bit, as opposed to laying down fresh airbrushed paint over top of the plastic. If the color's mixed in with the plastic, it mutes it a bit, but it still looks really nice. So there's something to be said about the airbrushing, but at the same time, to eliminate a lot of the time and artistic skills required for the airbrushing, to have the things 3D printed in full color as they come out was just a lot more interesting. But at the same time, this Predator statue looked really cool, so I filmed it. And here you see a creature from the Black Lagoon. Again, this is printed in a solid color. This would be later airbrushed to give the look and everything, but this is how most 3D printers do. They just give one color of plastic and melt or print it to be whatever. Here you see one being printed. I'm not sure what this was, but it's printing something, and it's, again, in a solid color that will later be painted. So that was the cool thing about White Clouds versus the others, is their stuff was in full color, but at the same time, yeah. This was another 3D printing booth. I'm not sure if the Stormtrooper was 3D printed or not, but he looked really cool, so I filmed him. With his nice crotch bulge there. And here you see some more action figures. I'm not sure if these were printed in color or not. I think they might have been airbrushed, but at the same time you can kind of see, again, how a little muted and flat the color is. So these might have been printed in color, but I'm not 100% sure because I didn't see anyone to ask. Here's Darth Maul returning from the dead after he'd been cut in half. Spoilers. And here's the Hulkbuster Iron Man. Now this one actually made me think that it might have been airbrushed just because of the detail on that one. And now we move on. These instruments, believe it or not, were all actually 3D printed. That drum set, other than the metal pieces in it, was all 3D printed. Here's one that's printing in two colors. You can see the gray and the yellowish color there. So these, I believe, were all printed in full color, not airbrushed, just because they had the demonstration there. Here again, there's a human heart being printed in that brownish gray and the yellow, greenish yellow. So I think these ones are full color print too. And that's all the footage I had for the 3D printers. Now what we're going to look at is, last year I had a short segment in the video which was a pair of skates sitting on a table. Unfortunately, that was day 4 of last year, and the people were gone already, so I wasn't really able to get a demonstration of what those were. But I found that company again. I didn't get a demonstration of the skates this time. Well, I did get the guy rolling by me at one point, but I didn't get like a full demo. But they had this new product, which was this little electric scooter. And as you can see here, he's showing it off. It's got the foot plates to stand on, or if you want to sit down, the little center console here flips up and becomes a seat. And as you can see here, he's going to demonstrate how easy it is to fold it up. You fold in the little plates, the wheels fold in, and then the handlebars fold down. And you can kind of pack it up and take it with you. And there's the guy with the skates who rolled past. I just happened to see him, and then I went to follow him to get a demonstration of the skates and saw the scooters. So, yeah. And they're from, I guess, Acton? I don't know how you say it. And now what we're looking at here is the, I believe it's the 9450. I could be wrong on the name. I think it's 9450 or 4950. I think it's 9450. It's basically a smart basketball. It's a regular basketball, but there's sensors inside that relay different information back to your tablet or your smartphone or whatever, which is what you're seeing here on the screen. And it actually talks to you to tell you like how to improve your shot. So if it's like, you know, you need more backspin, you need more of an arc, you need to bend your knees a little bit to get more power behind your jump shot. As you're shooting the ball, it relays this information to you. Now, I did cut the sound out here, so as Dido from the Kita Anime podcast here is shooting his baskets, it actually tells him how to improve. That guy shot the first one. But as you can see, Dido starts shooting here, and it had told him to bend his knees because it's actually the second time he was shooting. So then it was telling him that he had to get a higher arc, and then it told him like he had to get a little bit more power behind it. So yeah, it was basically relaying information on the screen and talking to him at the same time to tell him how to improve his shot. And he just sat here and kept taking shot after shot after shot. And he did make a few of them. I happened to film the part where he wasn't making any baskets, but KT got more of the part where he was. So you can actually watch that in their interview with the 9450 company, which I believe is up now on his website. I'll probably link it somewhere in the video or in the description. And here you see me doing my wrap-up again for day 3. And I don't know if you notice what's behind me there, but that's the Woot.com booth. They were closed down. Everyone had gone home for the day. But if you know anything about my past and how I got started in all this, it has a lot to do with that company. So that was just my little homage back to them, that I stood in front of their booth to do my closing video for this day. And yeah, that's basically the end of my day 3 commentary. So anyway, as we fade out onto the credit card, or on the closing card, what do you call those? I'm going to call them credit cards. And then we fade out to black, and that's it for the day 3 video. So as always, again, thanks for watching. I'll be back shortly with the day 4 and then the day 4 extras. Until then, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.